whatever.
Yeah. Any plans for this weekend with family, travel otherwise?
I do have big plans for this weekend. As you do know, I am a huge fan of Halloween. Right, very big. And this is our Halloween party on Saturday. So we have like 126 people coming to this party, which is way too big, by the way. So we only have 11 no's. So I sent out like the Evite, and I was thinking more like 50-50. We only have 11 no's. So it's way too many people. I was not prepared. Yeah. But
That is a lot.
I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday.
You're gonna make us wait to see what you are going to be. You want to share?
We're all being Star Wars characters, so yeah. My main one is Vader, but now with 100 and some people at the house, I'm not going to be able to be Vader for the Halloween party, because I can't walk around with like a Darth Vader mask on while trying to host people for 4 hours. So I have like a just a Jedi robe of sorts. So I will rock that for the 26th party. Then Vader will show up on Halloween
That'd be awesome. Have you guys always done themed costumes?
for a long time. My sisters were not really interested when I was younger, but I think my first family themed one was actually the Years of Britney. So my sisters and I and some other girls did like a bunch of Britney Spears music videos, right? Like the red jumpsuit and the poison and yeah, I was white trash Britney with jorts and a baby and a Red Bull and yeah, pink little cutoff shirt. So I don't make for a pretty woman though, unfortunately.
I need a picture. I definitely need a picture. This sounds too good to be true, Jamie, to see you as some of the Britneys.
Uh,
Okay, well, we are going to get started in just a minute here, everyone. I am so excited about today's conversation with Jamie. I've known Jamie for quite some time now. Judd, unfortunately, is not going to be able to join us for this one. However, we will make sure to share a little bit of this and bring some Judd into it. The future of financial advice is something I'm super passionate about. I shared this yesterday a little bit on my LinkedIn. I got started in this industry very young as a young professional, and I had several leaders come alongside me to really support me in my growth and drive really who I am today, what I do, and how I show up in the world. They took me under their wing, gave me constructive criticism, helped me build a path forward and to see the future of financial services more than just where I was, right? I started off at a product company like a lot of people did, but I've grown since then to be part of the wealth management industry in a way I never thought was possible before. So I am really excited, you guys, to have this conversation today with my friend Jamie and to talk about the problem, right? That's where we should start with this is FinServ started for a reason, and they started because of the problem in the industry that we have been talking about for a long time, but no one's doing too much about. So in our industry, here's the gaps that we've seen: high turnover amongst new advisors, limited access for emerging talent, lack of representation in this profession, isolating among young professionals, and outdated career development models. Jamie, what would you say about some of these points right now to just highlight how big this problem is above just this slide before we start talking more about FinServ?
yeah, well, thank you, Jessica, for having me on and for your passion around this. And I know you said Judd wasn't with us, but for those who know me, I like to draw the little thing. So I made a Judd to join us today. He's eating ramen, in case people is wondering what this mess is over here. But Judd's a good fan of ramen, so I drew his little egg thing, and yeah, so he's here. Uh, but in all seriousness, I think that we were talking before we hopped on that really what I would say is next gen talent development, right? From high school, from early stage development through college and into the workforce, not just in our profession, but I think right now, this whole area is kind of being questioned, right? Like, do we have the right setup at the university world, from high schools and middle schools on how they're teaching math and science? Are we doing it the right way? And you go back just a couple years ago and it was all about coding and let's teach everybody to code. And then like AI came on the scene very quickly. It was like, well, coding's not that important anymore. I'm sorry we built all these coding programs, but like it's not a skill set we need anymore because everybody can code. And it's been one of the first times really ever in the history of the world that a technology came in and disrupted what you would say is like your more thought driven professions or skilled professions. Technology is typically, you know, disrupted more of our blue collar jobs and industries than kind of up the system scale. And so it's a really different time where universities have catered to that world and there's disruption occurring. Now, I think that's the broad base. So I think that every industry right now needs to take a step back in the whole education world and understand, like, are we going in the right direction from how AI is going to impact, right, tests and exams and schoolwork all the way through. And like, I think some models are going to have to flip around and be different. Our industry has had a 30-year challenge with this. So like we're going back for a long time to really when we became, partially financial planning, advice, and fee driven. So, kind of going back to really the mid 90s when this started, we haven't really resolved this challenge that here, as you said, Jessica, you came in a product side. Most people kind of, when I talk to most people, they're always like, oh, I came in different than other people, or I came in like product, or unless you came in through a wirehouse, you likely kind of came into this industry alone. And that's a really interesting thing. It is not like other professions. I'm an attorney. I started off in the legal world and like I didn't go in alone. I didn't go into uncertain career models. I didn't go into it feeling isolated. Actually, young lawyers divisions and the ABA and my graduating class from Villanova, like there was a tremendous amount of support and peers around me that like I still talk to and hang out with and see. And how you like move through your career was fairly well defined, although you might not love it. Like past the partnership were pretty laid out at a lot of firms, right? Like was not a mystical thing. And while you could go start your own firm, most people didn't. Like they went into firms and joined people and learned how to bring on business and develop. And we didn't have huge rates of turnover, although there is some, but it's not kind of the same. So it's interesting. When you compare those two, because those are my two life comparisons. But we have a huge challenge on this. We've had 80% of financial advisors drop out in the first 5 years in our profession. And there's that McKinsey report that's saying we're going to be 200,000 advisors short by 2035. I don't believe that's the right number. I think it's a highlight number that says, hey, we're going to be short advisors. I don't think we're going to be nearly that short, but that's a different thing. But we are definitely short. When you talk to firms, great talent across the board is one of the top two concerns everybody in this industry has. And we don't have very robust training, development, retention programs across the board as an industry. There are pockets of it, but as an industry, like, we are very weak on this. I think most people agree with that part of it. And so, I think that's the problem we have is we are not a sexy profession that people want to join. We don't have great pathways into the industry. We don't have great retention. And this creates kind of two things. One, there's a lot of concern about the future, but it's actually made the business for individuals in it very profitable because we don't have the talent we need. So there's an argument from like a macro standpoint. We might be getting kind of like overpaid because, right, we have a shortage of talent. So like for people in the industry, you're like, oh, well, that's not so bad. Like I get paid well. And that's probably part of this dynamic is that we haven't been fully encouraged to find and cultivate the next gen across the industry.
This is great. All right, Jamie, well, we're going to dive right in then to learn more about FinServe. So we know the problem, we know the shortage, we know the challenges that we're facing. FinServe started for a reason. So tell us about the history, why you're passionate about this, how it came about, and what it is that you guys do today to help serve these, this market, as well as bring this into the world of the wealth management industry to help solve the problem overall.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I know you told me I can take some time on this slide, so we'll go story time mode, right? So everybody can sit in their cozy corner or whatever they have. My daughter is 9, and she really wanted a cozy corner last year for her birthday. So we made this little corner and dressed it up like Paris, and it's got big fuzzy chair thing and stuff she sits in for when she reads. So this is cozy corner time. But going back, I'm just going to tell the whole story of FinServe and the origin of it. So I've been in and out of the academic world for 15 years, and started off teaching at Villanova and taught there in a grad program at the business school and partially connected to the law school. I then taught at American College, which many of you probably have designations, or at least, right, see all the designations behind my name. And, so I taught there for, I think, almost 7 years, helped to build a designation program, kind of launch and co-create a research center, and do a lot of fun things. I then also taught at Creighton University's CFP program for a bit too. I actually still hold a professor of practice title there, although I really don't teach, but do some other work for them on and off. And so I've been part of this academic world for a long time. And a lot of my friends and colleagues were in the academic world. And so you go to around, I think it was 2018, and there was a CFP board put out a press release on one of their new cohorts that said most diverse class of CFPs ever. And like I was like, oh, this is great. Like very nice to see, right? We're bringing more women into the profession because I think everybody agrees. Like we badly need more women advisors. I don't think there's much argument on that. I haven't met very many firms that wish they couldn't hire more women CFP advisors. So at least from like the need from the business side is like definitely there. And you go look at the numbers, and it was like, oh, 19.8% women and like 3% African American. And you're like, like this isn't great. um, and why is it not great? Like, because the numbers in themselves, like, okay, it's getting better, more representative of the country we want to serve. And that's really like fundamentally where I come from on this is, if we want to be just representative of the clients we want to serve, we need to look more like the US population. It doesn't have to be identical, but it's got to get closer to it. And we're just not. But the interesting part was not that that hadn't improved as much as I thought. There were two pieces. One, the thing that really hit me was, but that's the future leadership of this industry in 30 years. And it's the one thing that I don't always think fully resonates with people. They're like, things are improving. But I'm like, but if that's the current CFP cohort in 2018, well, generally, fast forward in 30 years, it's going to be that group but shrunken down. So, like, that's essentially the leadership portion of this world in 30 years. So, when you say things are going to get better, I'm like, yeah, but that's the 30-year, like, lead funnel, right? Like, if this is a lead funnel for your company, that's the marketing qualified leads of leadership. I mean, so you're going to pare that down, but that's pretty much going to be what we have. Now, maybe you're upset with that, maybe you're not. But what was shocking to me was not just that, it was the fact that I was teaching in a CFP program. A lot of my friends were. And I was like, but my CFP classes at Creighton and my CFP classes at American College don't look like that. And my friend, Dr. Craig Lemoyne, who Jessica knows well too, runs the University of Illinois program. And then we had another friend, John Salter, who is help leading the Texas Tech program, and Luke Dean, who is at UVU. And I kind of reached out to all of them and two other professors, actually, too, one in San Diego and one at Kansas State. And I said, well, what do you guys' classes look like? And they said about the same, like, we're about 50-50 men and women now. And actually, I think UVU is their program is actually majority women. And because colleges are. And I was like, yeah, that's been my takeaway too. So what's happening here between this like university group studying and this 5 years out from school when people are kind of actually getting their CFPs, and we're just seeing this decline and loss of talent somewhere in here. And so really it was that sparked this, well, what could we do? And so a handful of professors and myself said, well, let's see what stuff we can help with to, get our students a little bit more successful so they're not dropping out of this profession at such high rates. And some of it universities can do, but a lot of it occurs after they've left the university four walls and they're out in the industry. And it goes back to a lot of those problems that we saw before: compensation models, development, Actually, I think arguably some of the mass proliferation of really small independent firms makes it hard to develop people because you don't have HR and resources and training and support. They just have to figure it out or they don't. And so you put all those things together. We looked at what we called evidence-backed research, which said what things work to help people in other professions stay in professions. And we landed on three really big pillars that became the foundation of FinServ at that point, but we didn't know FinServ was going to be a thing yet. But we saw coaching. So coaching is different than education at the university level, right? Like this is not telling you like what a Roth is and what are the rules and a triggering event plus 5 years, right? That's the education part. And actually, we're doing a good job at the education part of our industry now. Like I think the young people coming in are way more educated than any of us were when we came in. So that part's actually going well. The coaching, though, basically doesn't exist very well. Even when you look at, I actually think this is a flaw. And if I was in charge of CFP board, I would change this. But practice management historically has not been a CE component of CFP. It's actually been knowledge based, not practice management. So the coaching elements technically shouldn't count for CE. So we don't see enough coaching like CE. When you go to the legal field, actually, practice management is a component of the CE, and they tell you how to run a practice and how to bill correctly and all these other things. And you actually go back and learn about it. CPAs similarly, and I don't think anybody says, well, attorneys and CPAs are great at running their businesses, but they're probably like slightly better than we are. um, but I think that's a deficient thing. So we didn't see a lot of coaching. Jessica and I actually both worked back at Carson, and we had a big coaching program there. And it was really robust. And I think because even developed advisors didn't know how to run their practices. So they would come to, right, at one point, peak advisors, right, and try to learn like how to be a better firm owner and runner. But that goes all the way down to the entry level people. So we built out a 2-year coaching program that we thought were the things that young professionals needed to learn, including sales, that would not land in the CFP university world and that we didn't see in mass companies providing. So that became one of the pillars. The next pillar became mentorship. This one's probably not shocking. Like if you're just alive and you're around, you hear the power of mentorship. And it's this difference from like having a manager and having a mentor, very different things. And mentors are going to challenge you. You're going to help talk you through things, get over hurdles, see the big picture, figure out who you are, where your like talents and gifts all can go. And mentorship is really powerful. So you see people who succeed out there in the world, they tend to have strong mentorship. But most people, my experience has been when you ask people, said, hey, did you have a good mentor? And they go, oh, yeah, I got lucky. And that is like the follow-up phrase from every time I ask anybody, have they ever had a really good mentor? They say, I got lucky. And I felt the same way, and I would say the same thing. So we built a 6-month structured mentorship program. Kellen Brown, who is the I think Chief Revenue Officer and COO at 100 Women in Finance. She's built this for a couple different Fortune 100 companies and helped build out the FinServ one. And we launched that, which is a structured program, a little bit different than some like workplace mentorship programs, because it really is designed for industry leaders to mentor these young college professionals entering our workforce. And it's 6 months, and it's been a fabulous, fantastic program. And Samantha Allen now at Merit has picked up the torch and continued to run it. So another, Jessica knows most of the people I talk about in here. So I see you
Yeah.
nodding your
And
head.
they're great people in this profession who are advocating for this, young professionals who've grown inside of this world, who understand the importance of having a path forward, right? And mentorship is everything. Yeah, what's funny, Jamie, is as soon as you said that, I was like, yes, I had a mentor. And then you followed it up with that. And I would have said the same thing. It wasn't anybody I picked. It was someone in the industry that was there when I started, and they really helped to advocate for me. I had two of them who were willing to really go to bat for me, to listen to me, to tell me, hey, Jessica, yes, that's great, but you were wrong. That was important, to have somebody alongside me to not just give me a rah-rah talk, but also to help me see where my strengths were and then where I could improve. So I think that's incredible.
Yeah, and you added on that other piece. It's not something we tackle, but mentorship just like alone isn't enough. You actually do need mentorship plus advocacy, right? Out there in the world. So both are very important. I think it's usually hard to get to the advocacy if we don't have the mentorship taken first, though, is my general takeaway. Not impossible, but it is hard. So then we get to the third component that became a core part of FinServ's fellowship program. And this one was access. Although I've got to get a little bit tighter on the language eventually, but the research talks about access being such a driver for professional success. And really, what the research focuses around, though, or I guess just life happens to focus around, it's not necessarily the research, access typically means you were born into a wealthy family. Okay. Like, I just like you're born in a wealthy family, you're more likely to be successful in your profession because you have access to this network. I saw recently, I think it was like the Google Ventures CEO talking about how he didn't think his kids needed to be at college because it was a waste of time. And he was like, my son could just go get out and get like 10 million of seed round funding today if he needed to. And he's questioning why he's at Harvard. And I was like, yeah, but that's not normal. That's just because you're his dad. Like it wasn't like that's it, man. Like that's the entirety of it. But most people don't have access to that. At least not to that level. Like that's an extreme one. And it's a good thing, right? Like I'm glad he has access to it. It's not a bad thing. You want to be able to provide your kids those opportunities. But functionally, I can't change where people were born or their family. Tyrone Ross, who's a well-known person in our industry, always kind of jokes around "pick better parents" is like one of his lines, right? You can't actually pick better parents, and but I think it's funny when he does that. Uh, and so one of the things about that we said, so how can we have an impact on this access? And really, what we have taken is access to community. That has been our variation to it, right? We can't change the network you're born into, but we can give you access to a community of wonderful people out there that want you to be successful. So what we have done is covered the cost to conferences, from hotels to flights to the registrations and Ubers and food and all of it to get these young professionals out to industry conferences. So we probably do about 7 conferences a year, about 200 students a year. We get out to industry conferences, which we definitely are in the industry number one at that. Like, there's nobody who takes more students out to conferences than FinServ. Other organizations do a great job. Schwab does a fantastic job. They're right up there. AssetMark does a good job with theirs, and there's a handful of others that I'm miss a bunch, but there's a lot of companies that do a good job at this. Now, ultimately, a lot of them are using that for like number two on here, right? Those are really about pipeline development for themselves. So it's a recruiting metric. And that's still good. Like I'm happy those are occurring. FinServ. So we looked at those three things and said, how can we do it? At beginning in 2018, it was just 5 different universities working together, trying to provide this for some of our students. After that, I decided, well, if we want to scale this, we need to get money. I started some fundraising, realized that as universities, we actually did look to do this originally at University of Illinois, but kind of the way universities, especially state universities, run and raising money was going to be almost impossible to share this with other universities. So we ended up spinning up a 501(c)(3), raising money. The goal was to impact 40 students a year by providing 40 FinServ fellowships, which is this 2-year program of coaching, mentorship, and access to community. And we thought like that would be awesome. If we could do 40 a year, it's a very high touch program. And so that's how we started. Now, fast forward, we launched in 2019, became an official nonprofit in 2020. And, today we are over 700 or 800, 700 FinServ fellowships awarded. And we just brought on, so I guess this is our 800th one, or 799, something right around there. But we just brought on 99 new fellows in September of this year, and we will do another 100 in the spring. So we are now doing 200 fellowships a year. Students pay nothing. They get a mentor. They get 2 years of coaching. They get access to some other cool stuff. Like we use Gallup Strengths, which is a great tool. We get that for all of them, and bring in Gallup Strength coaches. We give free access to the AIF credit investment fiduciary designation. And we do a number of CFP and SIE scholarships every year too. Those have become more like ad hoc, at need, based on need developments that we've done for SIE and for CFP. But it's kind of grown and grown and grown. And we hired our first executive director who was paid this summer. So we really ran for 6 years as a fully volunteer organization. And that's really where we are today. So 42 different colleges and universities have become partners, and a lot of great industry partners from Orion and BlackRock and Nitrogen, Barrett and Samantha, Bryn Mawr Trust, where I am. Great organizations have come on board and really helped us. FIG, Financial Independence Group, another one that Jessica knows, just signed up for a 4-year commitment here this fall to be a partner and really help fund this and provide mentors. And, because we are fully donation led, right? Like we are a nonprofit. Everybody on the leadership team and board have full-time jobs at different companies. And it's been a really special thing to see the lives that we have changed through this program.
It's incredible. First and foremost, Jamie, thank you for all of the work that you and everybody else who are part of FinServe are doing. It is incredible to see. I have been able to see this in action at conferences. Being able to speak to a room of young professionals who are getting into our space was a lot of fun. And I can personally tell you, it's great to be able to be part of this and to see the investment they're making to learn and to really understand the business and to decide where is it that they can see themselves and taking this very serious. A lot of programs will say that people get involved and then they fall out, and that's just normal. But FinServe seems to have built something incredible that people are sticking with and that you're seeing more and more traction on. And it's part of the reason I wanted to share this a little bit more today. So, Jamie, you've done a great job talking about FinServe. I love it when people talk about them. You started talking about your favorite holiday was Halloween, but tell people who Jamie is outside of the workplace when he's not contributing at Bryn Mawr or leading and serving in FinServe. Who are you? Tell us a little about your family, what you love to do.
Yeah, so that is really it at this point. Like I don't have any friends anymore. I've got, parents of my kids, that's it. And this drawing of Judd. Judd used to be my friend, but he's not here. So I just have a drawing of Judd now that is my last friend remaining. But no, I have 3 young kids, and they're the core of my life. I made a big change about 2 years ago to come lead Bryn Mawr Trust and WSFS's wealth team, which has been really fun. And but it got me off the road for the most part, not entirely. But where this fall, like I'm coaching the flag football team for my 2 boys. I coached my daughter's basketball last year, and I'm coaching a soccer team this year too. And being home, like I've got soccer practice tonight, and I love that. That is my favorite thing, is being around my 3 kids. And then I've got my wife Kathy, who is like tangentially in the industry. She's in-house counsel at USLI, which is Berkshire's reinsurance company here in Pennsylvania. But yeah, that's where like any free time now is with the kids and spending time with them, which is fantastic. We just went to Niagara Falls. I've told a lot of people this. I'd never been. I thought it was amazing. I keep telling everybody, it's one of the 8th natural wonders of the world. If you haven't been, if you have kids, take them. If you don't have kids, go anyway. I think it's phenomenal. It really is breathtaking and something to behold on our planet, and it's beautiful. But yeah, outside of my kids, I pretty much work. So I have FinServe, which is usually my nighttime activity. And then during the day, I lead the wealth teams here, about 7 different wealth teams across a bunch of different channels, but work with a lot of great advisory firms. We do trustee services for dozens of RIAs and other wealth management firms. And that's been really fun too, just to be seeing all these other firms growing and the cool things that they are doing. Yeah, really, really fun just to be part of all that. Trying to think of something else that's more fun, but no, my kids are pretty fun. That's just.
You run. I've seen you voluntarily just join a race in a random city that
Yes.
you're in for a conference. So you love running. That's the opposite of me. I always tell people, if you see Jessica running, run.
Yeah,
I am not
run
a
too.
runner.
Yeah,
I
just
don't
start
enjoy
going.
running. So if I'm running, it's not a, hey, have fun, Jessica. I'm running because something's wrong. So Jamie runs for fun and he's great at it.
Yeah, I did. I ran Philadelphia Marathon last year in a 10-mile race here in Philadelphia called Broad Street, one of the best runs out there if you are a runner. It's an easy run, it's straight the whole way, just goes right through the heart of Philadelphia. But I'm actually, yeah, I've retired from running now, Jessica, so I think that's it. I might be done. But I do yoga like 5 times a week. So that's my one, like outside of running around the soccer fields and football fields, it is really, I do race the kids a lot. So I can still beat 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds, but like, the time's running out here, right? Like I've got a couple years left and then I'll never beat them again, right? It's, I guess a good thing.
Son is 8 and he constantly challenges me, and I can still beat an 8-year-old, although I don't enjoy running. But I will second to what you were saying earlier. We did Niagara Falls in the fall of 2023. It was on my mom's bucket list, and we were going to the Northeast, and it was beautiful. It was amazing. I watched my mom cry. My children enjoyed all of it. It was such a special thing, and I was so grateful that we went out there, and I thought it was so pretty to watch and see, especially at night, and it starts to light
Yeah.
up.
All
There's
the
just so much
lights.
to it, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the
We're
fall's
going to
really
transition.
good for it. I do.
You
Like a
what?
lot of people go during the summer, but we went a week ago. So you get all the fall foliage and it's less busy. I don't know. I thought it was amazing.
So pretty because everything is different around there. I don't, and I'm with you. Less busy, more color in the scenery. It is a little chilly, but nonetheless, it was a great time to be out there. And so I would recommend it to anybody. So okay, we're going to talk a little bit about Milemarker, and then again, this is meant to answer questions for people who have anything that they want to know about how do you participate in FinServe. What do you do if you are looking to attract talent? So start to post your questions in the Q&A, and we'll start taking those here in just a second. Judd's not with us, as we mentioned, but I'll talk a little bit about Milemarker for those of you who don't know. Milemarker helps firms in the wealth management space aggregate their data and then connect everything into one place so you can visualize that data and tell it what to do. So we unify your data from all of your sources, such as your performance accounting systems, your CRM, financial planning, custodial data. So you're centralizing that data, putting it into one location, and then we get to tell it what to do. Do I want to take action? Do I want to see reports? Do I want to see client engagement? So many things that we can do once we aggregate your data and we build it all on your domain. So I'm really incredibly excited about what we're doing. Jamie and I and Judd were all at another firm where we had this single experience where everybody was able to log in and see everything from multiple systems. So being able to do that for the wealth management industry today, whether you're a family office, broker dealer, RIA, asset manager, insurance company, we've service provider. We service the greater good of the wealth management industry. So if you are interested in learning more, I have all the time in the world to talk to you about that. You can message me after. But let's dive in, Jamie, to some of these discussion points. We do have a couple of pre-planned questions, but these are some of the conversation points that we're going to talk about, the problems that we identified before. The first one I want to ask you is, how do firms make this initiative part of what they have going on to start thinking about it? Like, how should, if I was an RIA or a wealth management firm today thinking about attracting next gen talent, now I know FinServe exists, but what should I be doing internally to think about this problem to help be part of the solution?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to give people a couple things. So the two things. One, we always need more mentors and people donating to FinServe. So that'll always be the case. And remember, right, it's not something that lines my pocket. Totally volunteer, board and executive team. So, but we always need that. And it helps get these students out and access to the industry. The next one is, I would really say, make
Jamie,
sure you
hold
get.
on, before you move on,
Yeah.
really quick. What does mentorship look like?
Yep.
If you said that and I'm like, okay, maybe I can do this. It doesn't really cost me
Yes.
money,
Oh,
but it
good.
costs me time. So tell me a little bit more about what it would be to be a mentor in the FinServe program. What does that involve for me?
Yes. So it is 6 months of commitment and I'd say an hour and a half per month because, you probably do have a half an hour of just other stuff that's going to tie up to it. But you're really spending an hour a month with your mentee. We do all the matching. You go to finservefoundation.org and there's a get involved link. And if you click on that, you can fill out like really what I'll say is an interest form to be a mentor. We do, I'd say, loosely interview everyone to make sure that you are a good fit and have the time and have the right expectations, because it is fundamentally different than mentoring an employee. Students don't show up to everything. Shocker, right? Like they they bail last minute, and a lot of times they don't really know what they need to talk about. And sometimes we had I'll use another mutual friend of ours, Larry Sprung. Like he had one mentee that like he just didn't get along with and kept moving meetings and didn't show up. And Larry had this whole conversation about like being a professional means like showing up on time. And they like wrapped up their mentee relationship early. And Larry was like, "Oh, it was a total failure." And I was like, "No, it was great. Like, that's actually a great mentorship experience. It wasn't super fun, but it was really important because you have this young person that's never really been held accountable in a workplace yet about showing up on time and respect and all these other things. They don't have that experience, but you were able to provide that, right, in a different manner than getting fired from your first job is going to. And like, that's super cool." And he was like, "Oh, you're right. We did do that." And but we have those a lot where the expectation, so we try to reset that expectation, but we do all the matching. And every month we provide all the mentors with documents and structure on how to align their session. So if you've never been a mentor before, you can do this. We have people, I'd say, as early as 5 years into their career mentoring. And, we have people in their late 60s mentoring. So all across the board. So as long as you have a passion and you have like that adaptability to work with a college student, because remember, these are 21-year-olds, like they're not seasoned professionals, and it is a different experience. I think that's the people who have struggled the most with it are expecting like 35-year-old CFPs who run their own practice to walk through. And you're dealing with 21-year-olds that don't know anything about the industry, don't know how to work yet. And that's what we're trying to help them with.
Okay. All right. Continue. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, the thing I tell people is get involved with your local universities too. Even if they don't have a CFP program, you definitely have people in the business school and the finance program that are interested in this profession. Find out when the career days are. See if you can just go on the campus. Some of them have shadow programs. So I tell people that all the time, and they're shocked. Villanova has a great shadow program. They can come shadow you, and they help set it all up. And I run into people all across the Philadelphia area that have no idea that that's even an option. There are other programs like Drexel University's got a great work study program. That's the way they operate the school. That one's a little hard because the way to like get into the program is a little time consuming. So like for 3-person RIA shops, it might not be a great thing, but I would still reach out. I mean, start there, try to build a relationship. And I think part of where FinServ fits into all this is if you have interns that you're thinking you're going to hire, I would tell them to go sign up for FinServ, because what that's also going to give you is a 2-year development program that you're probably not going to be able to build for them. And so they're going to get this outside view. They're going to get a community of people they can ask questions to. And I sometimes see in the chat, people are asking stuff like, "Hey, we just migrated to Orion. Does anybody know how to do this?" Right. And then there's like 15 people that graduated 5 years ago. They're like, "We're on Orion. I do know how to do this." So it's pretty cool when you like, we get a lot of chats in the group meet chat because I'm in all of them now for every cohort, but it's like 110 messages a day. So I have had to put that on silent. Yeah.
It's like a part-time job filtering through those messages, but that's incredible. All right, Jamie, so that's one. Mentorship, look at your universities. What are what is coming out of FinServ? When these people go through these programs, how are they finding jobs? What are they looking for? So what is
Yeah.
the if I was running a firm and I wanted to attract people who are going through FinServ and to say, "Hey, Jamie and them are doing a great job setting these people up for success. They have this program that's going to be this
Yeah.
recipe to help launch them. What do I need to do to attract those types of people from that are getting into the profession?"
Yeah, that's a great one too. So one thing we do, although we do want people to mentor, I know a lot of advisors that have mentored people, really connected, and then hired them. So that I think that's still the best way. But we send out internships and job postings like, I mean, I wouldn't say weekly, but pretty regularly. And when people reach out, say, "Hey, do you have anybody?" I'm like, I need a job description. Like that's what I need. And we send it out. We do have a resume book. So sometimes people will reach out and say, hey, do you know anyone in this particular area? And we can kind of do a search. But for the most part, if you're out there and you're like, I don't know how to do this, send oh, my email is going to come up, but it's president@finsurfoundation.org. Send us a job posting and we send that out, at this point to almost 800 people who have gone through CFP programs that are in the first 5 to 6 years of their career now, with most of that group being, either in college or 1 year from it. But if you don't do an internship program, I would suggest that you start figuring out how you want to do that. There are some resources out there on like how to develop internship programs and give them enough things to do. But to me, that's like a great way to see if somebody is going to be a fit for your firm. You don't have to hire every intern, but I also think you should be bringing interns in if you think one day you're going to hire people and you're using that as part of that talent development and also like your vetting process.
What influence are fellows looking for? Because the opportunities for them are big with the shortage of advisors and shortage of people coming into our space. It's almost like a seller buyer market, right? It feels like the FinServ fellows now have opportunities to decide where do they want to go, because they're not going to want to go to firms that are outdated, operate in old ways, that don't have a path forward for them. So if I want people to start thinking about this. If I was a firm trying to look for this next generation talent, what do I need to look like and feel like and be in order for them to say, these are one of 8 firms I have to choose from that are looking for someone like me? What do I need to be there?
Yeah, so we actually did a survey with FP Transitions this year around this, and I was surprised by the survey results because I believe the number one thing was development opportunities was the top of their list, which I think is correct. Like when I give people advice, it's actually what I tell people. I was surprised that that landed as number one. Another really high one for this industry is the ability to own their own practice at some point, right? Their own book of business. So then I don't think they have to own the whole firm, but they do have a mindset about ownership. And I tell people this all the time. Like if you're on, I'm not on TikTok anymore, but I was for a while. But what you see, like Instagram Reels is now the same as TikTok. So they're identical, whatever. I'm kind of on TikTok. What you see on there is the young generation does not find our industry and investing and financial planning very cool. They do find wealth generation very cool. That is actually like cool and in to develop businesses and own things and have equity and make lots of money. And so that cohort believes that they should make more money than like any other cohort alive, right? Like they have this view of the amount of money they should be making is extremely disproportional to every other cohort that we've ever seen. But it is to me because this notion of like wealth building became really cool for them. Like it's cool to make a lot of money and be wealthy. Where sometimes it was almost like looked down upon, right? Like you remember like old Grey Poupon commercials and like it made mustard feel like only for the wealthy and like it's like weird because you're like mustard's like $2. Like even Grey Poupon's like not expensive. But they did a great
Mhm.
job. Like, but it felt like stodgy and like you didn't really want to be them. Like you wanted to have the stuff they had, but not be them. But like today, people want to be the wealthy. Like it has shifted a bit. So showing people development, and that doesn't mean you have to do it, but figure out the partnerships or industries or conferences or coaching that you can provide somebody so they can actually develop. I think that is a bit of what's missing. I will be doing a talk on this at some point. That I don't actually think what happened was the generations became less loyal to the workplaces. I think workplaces stopped building development paths and career paths for people. And so therefore people move around more. I don't think that, yeah, and that's a little bit of my philosophy is mostly I don't see that where 40 years ago people said, here's how you come in the mailroom up to CEO. And that's kind of gone away.
All right. I agree with you on a lot of that because you're seeing it in our profession. So we got a couple of questions. And I'll start with this one. Do you see a shift in the kind of talent firms need today versus 5 or 10 years ago? And if so, what?
Uh, yeah, I'm sure there is a shift occurring. I think that one thing I am noticing a shift back towards, so I don't know if it really ever went away, but I think the notion that this is important is coming back, is sales and communication. I feel like
Mhm.
for a bit, people were like, oh, we're going to figure out how to service everything and not really need sales. And I do think there's a notion that like sales training has fallen to the wayside, that it's a bad word and people don't want to sell. And you're laughing because like you probably see that as we tried to bring on salespeople before, and they don't know how to sell. And that's becoming a little bit of a lost art. And I think that's one of the most important talent things that we're going to need. And the reason is like the market values growth and sales more than it values service. It just does. Like faster growing firms get higher multiples. Places that have salespeople grow faster, and therefore the market rewards it more. So I think that's a talent piece. I do think that AI in 5 years will have some other shift, but I think that communication piece and the sales piece is still going to be number one. Like I think it'll be more important actually than we had, and maybe a 15-year shift to like planners and CFPs as more of a background group that were going to be servicers. I actually think there's a strong likelihood we're going to see kind of a shift, like that pendulum swung. We're going to hire all these CFPs and actually back away from that, in the sense of like we need educated CFP salespeople.
Sales For me, sales is an art and I really love it. I've been doing it for nearly 20 years. And so I talk about this a lot, but I have a passion for it in a way that most people don't, because I don't see it as a sale. Jamie, that's probably the
Hey,
biggest difference is I don't see myself as a salesperson ever, but that is my talent, my strength. And so I totally understand that. All right. Another question. Are there partnership or sponsorship opportunities that align with different firm sizes and goals?
Yes. So there are. So look, there's the answer from all nonprofits forever is there's no donation that is too small. But for sponsorships, we usually talk about things like we have individuals give, from $50 to, well, much larger. But you can donate via PayPal right on the website if you want to make a small donation. If you want to sponsor an individual student fellowship, it's $2,000. The other thing that we do take is, say you want to sponsor a CFP scholarship or an SIE, something like that. I think they're like 2,500 and 500 off the top of my head. And so there are kind of like different things. Now, larger firms, we typically look for 3-year partnerships versus one-offs. So, and I think we've just decided to hold that line. So when we're talking to the FIGs, the Orions, the Nitrogens, the InvestNets, BlackRocks of the world, we have always said we want 3-year partnerships because we don't want people to engage for like a half of a year and then not continue on. We want people to be part of this long term. So that's really what we've pushed for on enterprise or larger firm engagements.
Really great, Jamie. So there's multiple ways that you can either donate or sponsor depending on the size of your firm, individual mentorships. There's lots of opportunities in there. Next
And,
question. How
and we
can the
are
foundation
We are a
okay?
501(c)(3), so company matches, donor advised funds. We just got a donor advised fund one today. I saw an email came in from somebody's, don't know who's yet, but saw the little like, because you get an email sometime when they're ACHing them in. And so even those we can use to fund FinServe.
That's great. Next question. How can the foundation work, bridge the gap between academia and the realities of financial planning in practice?
Yes, so that's great. And that's why we built our coaching program and then we redid it later on. So the coaching program is actually all built by practitioners now. So it is not an academically built one. It's probably about 8 different people worked on it and said, what are we really missing in our young talent as we were bringing them on? And luckily, I got a lot of experience on this one because for a while I was running at Carson, our next gen program. And we were bringing in about 10 young CFP professionals to the home office to train. We built a training program that was 18 months for them. We've also learned some from what our New York Northwestern Mutual does. We've actually spoken to them a bit. For as much as people don't love everything they do, they actually do have one of the better training programs out there. So we've worked together with a lot of RIAs, wealth firms to build. So actually, it's broken into 4 6-month modules now. And one of the 6 months is entirely sales. It is entirely like networking, building relationships, and is entirely around sales. One is about like branding, marketing. One we call the business of you, which is really taking care of their own finances and wealth so they don't go into debt and all these other issues. Because you have to create good people if you want to create good professionals, right? Like you have to be good humans and take care of your own life too. So that's one of the other four. Then the other one is all about learning about kind of the dynamics of the industry. So we talk about fintech and AI and different types of firms, insurance versus brokerage versus RIAs, and give them a better understanding of the parameters. We actually go over ADVs with them so they can read an ADV and understand it. Yeah, that's a fun one. It actually is really fun. So we just go and look at different ADVs and talk through them and help them understand it, which, advisors 20 years in sometimes have never looked at an ADV.
In my definition of fun, very different. All
I'm
right,
gonna bring
next
you to
question.
that
You
one
said
next time. You're gonna love it. You're gonna be like, I did not know ADVs could be this fun. They actually
I
really
looked at
love that
ADVs
session. I'm
for a
just
long time. When you're in sales, especially in the world we were in, you look at ADVs a lot. So I've never encountered that and thought this was fun. So, but I was looking for different data on there and not writing it. So there was difference there. All right, next question. You've spent years helping advisors build better businesses. What's one thing every firm should be doing now to stay relevant in the future?
Yeah, this probably is part of what you do. But I think it's just getting all your data in a good spot. I think people have been talking about that for a decade. I actually think it's doable today with AI and different solutions out there. You actually can get your data in order. That's probably going to be the most important thing when I look out to the future because AI and a lot of these tech efficiencies that might come our way, we haven't really seen them yet overall. But if tech efficiencies do come our way as an industry, it's only going to work if your data is actually like clean and good. It's not useful if you don't have good data. So I think that's super important is figure that part out from a practice management standpoint. But you do need a succession plan. That'd probably be the number two since we're talking about this. Your firm is worth more. It's more likely to survive, right? I do think fundamentally clients higher net worth clients look for more stable larger firms and so not having succession plan is hurting your growth, although I see advisors over and over again choose not to pay for that, but it's not helping, like it's financially a bad decision.
All right, Jamie. If anybody else has any questions, that's great. But I have one more to ask you. And it is what is your final thought for people who are thinking about this, talking about the next generation, wondering, where does this fall? Like, what is your closing thoughts to people on FinServe, what they do, but the greater impact overall in our profession?
Yeah, this goes back to the big picture, right? We have to fundamentally relook at how we develop talent from education to the workforce. This is a bridge program. FinServe by itself cannot change our entire industry or the whole world, but the entire world, every industry, every aspect of this has to understand how do we take young people who want to be the talent of our industries and develop them in a way so they are successful and stay in our professions. Like that is fundamentally what we were talking about. And there's really never been a time in our lives, right, over the last 100 years where we've seen as much disruption from this university and trade schools coming into professions that we have right now. And so we are facing a little bit of a challenge that we have never seen before. And this is across the board. So I think one of the things I always tell the FinServe board and executives that we work with, all the great volunteers, is right. Why do we do this? We do this because we all had an experience with it. Almost all of us came into the industry, as I said, alone and without a pathway, which is why we give back. But if we don't do this, no one else is going to do it for us, which is why everybody that's part of FinServe and volunteers does it, right? That is why they give up time. That's why they give up money. It's why they give up hours at night and on the weekends. And it's the same thing for you all. Whatever area of the world you are passionate about, nobody else is going to solve that for you, right? So if you're passionate about next gen, get involved somewhere. And it doesn't have to be with FinServe. There's 100 great organizations out there. We'd love it if it was part of us, but we just need to see the change. You need to put in the work to make the change occur.
How do people get involved? Like find more out about FinServe, you, all of the good stuff. and what you guys are doing. Is that online? Is that through the website? What's the best way to
Yeah.
connect on all of this?
Website is the best way. So finservfoundation.org is the website. My email for FinServe's up there, president@finservfoundation.org. But we have a bunch of contact buttons and links and stuff on the website too.
Newsletter, things like that, where they can find out more about events, hear more. Jamie, really quick, give us one story, one success story of a fellow, like something that
Ah,
sticks out in your mind, because I'm a big stories person, you know that, and you are too. So give me a story, like close this out with a story of a FinServe fellow and something that you're like really excited and proud of or happy to share.
well, I'm going to cheat and I'm going to give you three really quick ones. So, one of my favorite stories, this is one of the first ones. One of the first ones was I had a young male who graduated University of Georgia. He was a father. He went back to school a little bit later and he reached out to me as part of FinServe and he said, "Hey, I just got a job." And I was like, "Great. Where'd you get a job?" And he said, "Hertz." And he goes, "I'm going to go take this job at Hertz because I need to pay for my kid." And I was like, this isn't great. And I remember going and I was like, did you look at the CFP board? And they had no jobs for entry level people in Georgia. And actually, through my network, I found him somebody who was looking as an advisory firm that was looking to hire a new graduate CFP in Georgia. He's still at that firm. It's been 5 years, still there, doing great. But had it not been for that quick intervention, he would have left our industry forever because he was a father. He was about 24 years old and he needed a job when he graduated school and he couldn't find one. That one to me is like we changed somebody's life and we probably changed his earning careers substantially and kept him in his profession. Another one is Valentina. Valentina is one of my favorite stories. She was, well, she's an immigrant refugee now, but she was at school here at Winthrop when Russia attacked Ukraine, and her family's from Ukraine. And so she's here probably permanently now. But same thing, right? We actually paid for her gas and her car so she could get to a summer internship that we found for her. She didn't have one. I think she was working at a hair place and a salon of sorts. And we found her a summer internship. Fast forward, right? She's got a job in the industry and she's actually getting her master's. And then the last one I'll tell you has nothing to do with that. I got a text message from somebody a couple months ago now who just got engaged, who was a FinServ fellow, and I was the second text that he sent after his mom, and I just thought that was so cool, right? He's also in the profession, he's working, and but I was like that. I mentored him, and I just thought that was so cool to see like these three stories, like all very different, right? Of just this connection you build with young professionals by helping guiding them. Really the other two fundamentally changing their careers and lives for the better. And I didn't do all those things, right? Like I tell the story, but like other people did all those things for them and kept them in this profession. And those are our volunteers and mentors and just friends and connections of FinServe.
Well, again, Jamie, thank you so much for what you do, and thank you for being here today. I'm so happy to share this, and I hope it impacts FinServe for the greater good, and hope more people get involved, volunteer their time, become a mentor, donate at minimum. You get a tax write off for that, so at least get that going. That can help. I know we all can do that, whether that's a small amount, a big amount. If you want to sponsor a student or otherwise. But I'm really grateful for your time today and all that you are doing for our profession, Jamie. I'm grateful to know you as a friend and to see you everywhere that I have. And I'm really rooting for FinServe and what they're doing to help change our profession. So thank you so much for your time today. Everybody, please reach out to FinServe and continue to support them as Milemarker has. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks.